For years I've been devoted, grew it, bagged it and sold it, roll it, lit it and smoked it, living life out of focus. I'm certified
We are
with this shit.
back with the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Mr. Ciaran May from Natural Resilience. How are you, mate?
The mighty Ciaran May.
Good.
Thanks for having me again.
For part two.
Second time, yeah. Feel privileged.
Super excited to have you back.
Yeah.
I feel like this is like a selfish endeavour.
it is.
How can we get Ciaran for an hour?
Yeah, no, I'm delighted to be here. I really enjoyed the last one. That was in my place.
That
and
was
then
in your place.
we spoke about you doing something, and now here we are.
So the last time was in your place, and like we obviously seen what you did, and you had talked about how that was a vision that you had, and like what you made into reality, and then we were there. We were like, this is definitely something that we're thinking about for BSC and going forward. So yeah, mate. But it just shows you, like, when you have it in your head, and you know what I mean, and you write it down as part of what your goals are, then you can achieve it.
100%.
You can
If you say, my son's 9, and if you say to him, if you can see it in your mind, he will repeat back to you, you can hold it in your hand.
That's brilliant. I love that.
9 years of age, like, and it's just, I truly believe.
What a mantra to be carrying about as a 9-year-old, and passing that on, because he'll not like keep that to himself. Like, he's going to say it to somebody else.
100%. He was always a mummy's boy. He started playing football, so which is great. He wants me to take him to football, so training and matches. And I kind of thought, that's an hour travelling. That's like sacred time between father and son. So I would do wee visualizations with him on the way over to his mat, like not going too intense, but like saying, right, when you're putting on your jersey, it's now giving you magic powers to run faster and tackle better, and his confidence has just went through the roof. But I always, when I get into the self-development world, my goal was to be good at your job. You have to be able to teach it to kids and for them to understand it. Like, that should be your baseline. It's okay sounding fancy to adults, but if you can take that material and teach it to your 9-year-old son, that's when you know you're on the right path. I think.
Yeah, I suppose if you could translate that to children, obviously then it's going to be much easier to translate to adults versus if you focus on translating to adults. How would you then be testing children? Well, realistically, they are the future.
100%.
You know what I mean? And in a very short period of time, because that 9-year-old's going to be 19, 10 years, which goes like that.
100%.
So no, I think you're absolutely bang on.
I ended up down a little rabbit hole. I was listening to the podcast and I was talking about like what makes us us. So like we're all born blank, and it's like what influences us and our decisions, and what makes us who we are. I know, like, the things that influence your thought patterns and your thought processes, and I think so many people have got these self-limiting beliefs, and it's like, where do they come from? Are they conditioned into you? And you actually spoke a bit about this in the last podcast about conditioning and society, and I just find it fascinating.
Yeah, it's amazing. So like if you picture the mind is split in two, like a very simple point of view, the conscious mind and the unconscious or subconscious mind. The conscious mind doesn't really like come into fruition until you're about between 7 and 10. So let's say 7 or 8. And the conscious mind's different because that gives you the ability to accept or reject an idea, whereas the subconscious it just assumes everything's true. So a kid has no conscious mind. That's why kids believe in different things like tooth fairies, and they just believe what they're told. It's just completely unconscious. So in a sense, they are sponges, and you can feed them with good positive stuff, or unfortunately some kids grow up in environments through no choice of their own where they're told they're not good enough, they can't do this, sit down and be quiet, and so that starts to shape their personality. Thankfully you can use the same process as an adult to like rewire your own brain, and it's through repetition. Two ways to do it really. An emotional event, and usually people, it's emotional turmoil, like a car accident or a near-death experience or death of a loved one, and they think, right, I am making a change, or just through repetition. Like different things. Positivity is a superpower. It's the way you speak to yourself kind of shapes all that too. It's we spoke about it before we started. You have to. It's self-control, self-management, self-awareness. But once you start to master it, it's completely life-changing.
Yeah.
You feel as if you're in control of life as opposed to being a slave to circumstances. I think
I suppose that is your find yourself moment, you know, like, and as you say, normally it's people either hit a rock bottom or they've had such a major trauma experience where it's like, right, okay, who even am I, what am I doing in my life? Life isn't fucking infinite, so I've only got a wee time left, what am I going to do with it? What am I going to do with the time and who am I going to impact?
Yeah.
You used to be a powerlifter, didn't you?
Yeah, I only gave up powerlifting around 2009. Well, COVID really.
Yeah.
COVID was the catalyst. I needed a break. I was exhausted. I had the best year of my career in powerlifting. I got under the Northern Ireland team, went to the Commonwealths in Newfoundland, and against the odds got a medal. I then I was absolutely exhausted after it, and came back and was invited to compete in Dover for the Four Nations, which I always wanted to do. So I said yes. Got my personal bests. I remember thinking, this is amazing, but I'm really, really tired.
Yeah.
We went into Christmas. Obviously, COVID started to make murmurs in different parts of the world, and then our gyms closed. And I thought, this is my sign. I need to take a rest. And then, as I took a rest, I realised how much time I devoted to powerlifting. You know, Monday night, Wednesday night, Friday night, Sunday morning, as a minimum. And I just decided to pack it in. It was my wife said to me one day, just a flippant remark, like she never complained, she just said, I'm really glad you're having a break because I've struggled putting the two kids to bed by myself each night. And it was almost like a punch in the stomach, and I went, fuck, I've been selfish. But I needed to be selfish to achieve what I wanted to achieve. I suppose it's a double-edged sword.
Even at that level, the level you're competing at, well, I suppose any level, even in any competition, you have to have that degree of belief. And see the way you're saying about, I can't, because I mean, you're lifting heavy weights, like I can't. If you, especially I compete in Olympic weightlifting, and it's such a mental sport where if you're standing behind that bar and there's any element of self-doubt, especially whenever you're going for 100 max, you're not hitting it.
Yeah.
So I presume powerlifting is probably the same.
Very much so. I mean, I still to this day can go through my routine, which was almost OCD element of where my finger placement was going to be, how my feet were positioned, and I had all these cues in my head for each of the three lifts, and that was repetition, about conditioning myself that when this happens, I'm priming myself to achieve the lift. You know, it was always about falling forward and having that self. And of course, there was fear when the big lifts came, but then it was just conditioning, just reminding yourself, okay, I've trained for 6 months to lift this one weight, you know, and then. I suppose you would have went more into self-belief. Yeah. I actually had a really interesting conversation with Michael Conlon recently about this. Obviously, world-class athlete, and I asked him, does he still get nervous before he fights? And he said, yes, all the time. Yeah. I was like, well, how do you get past that? And he says, I have to accept that it's normal to be nervous before walking out in front of thousands of people and millions on TV and putting my life on the line. You know, this fight's make or break, but I remind myself I've trained harder than anyone the past 12 weeks. I've done everything. I've dotted the I's and crossed the T's. And once I start to ruminate on those thoughts, then the nervousness starts to dwindle and the confidence starts to appear again. I thought that was really powerful. You know, fear's normal, but I think to achieve anything in sports or business, you need to make peace with fear. Yeah. You need to make it your friend, because if you're growing, you're going to experience fear on a regular basis, and it's how you deal with it.
Mike Tyson actually talked about it too, even through his sort of mantra. I'm sure you've heard this before, where it's like he's in the dressing room and he's terrified, and he used to cry and all before most of his fights, and in the dressing room he's terrified, and as he's walking towards the ring he's afraid and he's afraid and he's afraid, and see once he gets into the ring he says, I'm a god, no one can stop me. But it's strange how that switch just...
Yeah. Well, if his relationship with his trainer Customato is one of the most interesting relationships in sport, I think, and although he was never trained or certified, he's probably one of the best sports psychologists boxing's ever had. And his famous phrase is, fear is the friend of exceptional people. Because fear, from a hormonal point of view, dumps adrenaline into the bloodstream, and like your respiratory system increases, the vascular system increases, so for a short period of time you have superhuman strength. And so he got Mike Tyson to realise that was when you are a god. Because you feel fear, you're stronger, you have the ability to knock this man out. Yeah. So you need to make peace with fear. And of course he became the baddest man on the planet after having been a afraid boy that was crying before fights.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I do find it yeah, it's crazy, man. I love all that stuff, you know. Yeah.
You know, I think it's interesting to see the timing of your wife saying to you, I'm glad you're not doing that anymore, because I think it maybe would have been a different story if you had been in the build up to the competition and said to you, listen Ciaran, you can't do this anymore, I'm struggling to put this in. Your reaction would have been different, but because she said it after, because she gave you the time to actually do what you needed to do, you done what you needed to do and said, I'm glad you're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
But I think it maybe would have been a different response.
If I was to answer honestly, did I know she was struggling at times and would she have preferred me to be there, then the answer is yes.
Yes, so you kind of...
She didn't say.
Yeah.
She's very supportive. We're together 19 years.
I think that's what kind of makes a good team, is just knowing when to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Because the timing was obviously perfect.
Timing was perfect.
Because it didn't put you off anything you were going to do. You achieved what you wanted to do, but then said after, listen, I'm glad you're not doing that anymore because I have been struggling.
Yeah.
And for you that was like, I've been selfish.
Yeah.
But again, if she had said that to you when you were in the middle of it, you maybe would have pushed back. Do you know what I mean? And maybe would have had a different outcome.
Yeah.
It's human nature, really.
And the truth be told, I would have still competed, and because I was so focused on this Commonwealth competition, that was so focused.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so glad she didn't say it, because she would have felt it was a selfish prick, you know.
And you might not have done it. You might not have done as well as you did.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
just that week.
because of the other thing in the background. But I just think that's like really sort of...
How did you get into it, Ciaran? Because I remember listening to bits and pieces of the last podcast, you said that food would have been your sort of, if you were feeling anxious or nervous, food was your go-to. And was there something that happened or an event in your life where you were like, do you think you were using powerlifting as an outlet? Or
no, I don't think it's an outlet for anything to do with food or anything. I've always been involved in sports. Like I played Gaelic at a decent level when I was younger. I did amateur boxing. I did a bit of running. I run a couple of marathons. Like I've always been interested in what the human body's capable of. And then when my son was born 9 years ago, I was kind of like, right, okay, I need to train on my own time instead of a club saying, oh, your class is 7 to 9 p.m. because obviously kids don't sleep at certain times. And I joined a local gym in Lisburn called the Rock Pit, and I was just happy to go in and lift a wee bit of weights. I hadn't really lifted weights before.
Is that Phil Graham's gym?
That's where he trained years ago. Phil,
Yeah.
there was a lot of big guys. Like I was this skinny, lanky, 26-year-old walking in. Huge big bodybuilders and powerlifters, and there was a team of powerlifters at the time who were phenomenal. Ben Lockery and Michael Gibson, who still hold records all over the UK and Ireland. And I just asked them could I join one Saturday morning, because I just liked what they were doing, and they allowed me to tag along, and I just stuck with it really. But I liked the fact that it was very logical. Like for me, bodybuilding was a wee bit political. It was all like an opinion of, oh, that person looks better than that person, whereas in powerlifting you either got the lift or you didn't.
Yeah.
And it was very goal orientated. It was like, okay, you need to make a 0.5 kilogram increase this month. Here's how to do it, and you had no excuses. Like I liked that there was almost a plan put in place for you to achieve that.
If you follow this plan, you will make that increase. So
it made sense to me. It was it was hard work, but it made sense that it was all, you could see the wee incremental changes taking place. And also now that you've made that, you need to come back and have a week where you lay off and allow the body to recover, and then we'll go again in 6 weeks. And I just enjoyed it. And I started to get good at deadlifting, and I loved deadlifting. And I did my first competition and loved it, and I thought I could make a go of this here, if I stick to it. And within 3 years then I was starting to knock on the door of the Northern Ireland team, and just went for it. The last 2 years I just completely devoted everything to it.
What do you think? Did whenever you first started out, was that a goal? Were you like, I want to make a Northern Ireland team and then Commonwealth, or was it just step by step?
It was just I want to do my first competition, and then it was like, I just want to improve. I just want to improve. I started to get into equipped powerlifting, and I thought, okay, there's not many people doing this. If I start to get this technique down, I should get onto the Northern Ireland team by default, essentially. And I missed out 1 year. They all went to Scotland, and I remember that was my a wee bit of pain. I felt sorry for myself, and I went, I'm going to train harder than anyone, and I really did. And within that was my big year of big solid improvements. Then that's when I'm missing out on it. Was like, I actually do want that.
What height are you here?
6'3", I think.
Would that be a disadvantage for powerlifting?
I'm not built for powerlifting.
No.
You know, I have big long leverages. The traditional powerlifters, big chest, short arms for bench pressing. Again, for squatting, I have huge, big, long legs. So not ideal.
But you still
I
got
loved
to
it.
where you got to.
Yeah.
I'm the same. I'm 6'7" and a big weightlifter, and it's a massive disadvantage.
Yeah.
Because you need to be. See, ideally for an Olympic weightlifting, you want to be as strong as you,
Uh-huh.
strong as powerlifter, but as mobile as a gymnast. You would need to find that in between. But being like these limbs and all, mate, it's I get it. You're gangling, you're all over the place.
Yeah.
But you know, mate, I love it. It's class.
For me, it was kind of working out those leverages, like how can I use my height to my advantage. So with powerlifting, I found that I could have this. I went from the traditional raised heel, you know, Adidas lifting shoe, to like a Reebok CrossFit one that they don't even do anymore. It was a flat sole like a Converse, and I found that when I had this big wide stance, I could kind of use it to my advantage then with squatting and start to really enjoy the squat. And
What sort of numbers, best numbers of all time, bench?
285 squat, 192.5 bench, always aiming for 200, and I always had this niggly shoulder problem. And 285 deadlift as well.
Was that equipped or?
That was equipped, yeah, a squat suit.
Yeah, serious, serious numbers, like, isn't it?
Yeah.
Crazy numbers. Dangerous numbers if you drop it.
Yeah, we had a phenomenal team. I think it was a real special place in Ballyhinch we trained. It was a private facility. Guy Mike owned it. Everyone was on the Northern Ireland team.
Right.
It was a wee private gym. When I started, I was by far the weakest in the room, which I loved because I was learning so much. And then just over a couple of years, starting to make wee progressions, and we all really kind of supported one another. It was like that rising tide. Like we were all on the international team. We were all going to competitions, all supporting each other. And they're still doing it to an extremely high level. You know, Mike, he's ranked number 1, I think, at the minute in bench press and GB. I think he benched 270 at 100 kilos, which is insane, you know. But for me, having that break, it gave me an opportunity to go through my priorities. And I kind of thought, right, I need to spend more time with my kids and my wife, and also really wanted to get natural resilience up and running. And I don't think I would have had the time to do that if I was still powerlifting. So it was all perfect, and it was all meant to be.
So you're doing a lot more seminars and stuff. I actually spoke about you on two podcasts ago maybe, about even your content you're putting online. It feels as if you're speaking, I love it, I do. I'm not just saying it's because you're sitting here, but like it feels as if you're speaking to me. Through the screen, mate, because you are real genuine and authentic, and you can tell, like it's just, I find your mindset and outlook at things just fascinating.
Class, thank you.
Mate, I love it.
Do you find that your background and foundation of putting yourself in that room where you are the weakest, or you know, being the word, you know, being not the, no, it's not the cleverest, but being the weakest in the room, do you find that has set you up going forward about putting yourself, I get this feeling from you and just stuff that I've seen, that you're always trying to put yourself in a room for the people where you want to go.
Yeah.
So you're always just kind of trying to put yourself into a place where you're just constantly learning. So it's not like you're just always trying to give advice. You're still in those rooms.
Yeah, I think it's.
But a different room, like it's a different room, but it's the same principle as what you did with the powerlifting. You thrived on being in that room with everybody being better and everybody being in a position where you want to go. Like, do you find that was a good foundation for everything else you've done with natural resilience and all your stuff?
Massively, because it's getting into it. You have to remain a student. Like your whole life, you have to remain a student. And for me, being the weakest in the room, you have two type of people. There's one person that does not like it, and they feel incompetent, and their ego maybe feel vulnerable, or I don't belong here. I really relish it, and it's not to be the underdog. It's because I know I'm going to learn a lot here. Like, these people know more than me. I'm going to ask them questions. I'm going to learn loads. Where if you are the most competent in a room, you stagnate. You do. I think competition's healthy. Like, say the gym, for example. If you guys were the best, like, are you really going to like evolve? Or if there's somebody pushing you a wee bit, you're going to grow more. You know, I do think for me it's really important to create environments where you can learn. And so that was tomorrow, for example, I'm doing a corporate swim race, get 25 business owners into the sea. And my thing was, And I know about the human mind, I know about myself and how to deal with stress, but I don't know really about business. And I want to be around authentic business people to learn from them. I want to be around ambitious people, like people that want to like be innovative and create. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm going to create an environment for me to do that. So I created the corporate swim race. And I mean, there's several people there that are millionaires, multi-millionaires, like, very successful people, and then there's people like me, sole traders, that are starting off in their business journey. The beauty of the sea is everyone's on the same level, but for me, being the weakest in the room there, I have learned so much, you know, to ask somebody like, how do you do email marketing, or how are you finding about this? And if I was just to play it safe, I wouldn't have learned that, you know, I would still be running around in circles. I think it's really, really important, yeah.
I find that myself, I'm moving in the direction constantly of listening. So not wanting to speak as much and just wanting to actually just listen, just be in those rooms, because as you say, you can just pick wee bit, even if you're not involved in the conversation, you can take so much from all those different people and those different like, you don't need to take all of their advice. What I have realised is some people aren't experts in your field, but they do have lots of really good input that they can put into. Yeah. So you know, it's like listening to lots of different books and picking bits and pieces from. You don't need to follow every book, no, because that's their path.
Yeah. That's
not your path, but you can pick wee bits and pieces that are relevant to you, that help you sort of. I think it's a vibration thing. I think when you're in those rooms, 100%. It feels like there's a higher vibration. It's like coming into a positive gym environment. So for example here, guys are leaving, and I've noticed after even just a few weeks they look younger, right? And I'm like, why is it my perception of you looks different? But I think people are just generally, their vibration is higher when they're leaving, so in turn they're looking happier and they're looking more youthful and more fresh. And at the start I was like, surely, and then Claire said to me like 2 weeks later, she was like, do you know, I think such and such is looking a wee bit younger, and I was like, yes, I think that too. It's like the fountain of youth.
Class.
But again, it's those rooms and it's surrounded by those people where the vibration is higher, and it just brings you up.
100%. It's all about vibration, and you measure vibration and like resonance. So you measure vibration in the body, like bioresonance, and it's when you do hear something in their conversation and it resonates within you. So all that means is the vibration that they're on and speaking in resonates within where you are, or lifts you up a bit. You know, when you feel something that sticks out, or that makes sense, or that feels right. And it is important to put yourself in environments where the vibration is a wee bit higher than where you currently are. Like that's where the growth is. You know, you get to feel that and go, I want to go there, I want to speak like that, or I want to take those chances.
Even in terms of like community size, like you can have a conversation with 3 people and feel massively elated, but when you have that conversation with a group of 30 people and everybody's there, it just feels like, you know, when you come out of the sea on like so your corporate swim race, for example, you go down to Helens Bay, is it?
Crawford's tomorrow.
So when you go into the ocean and it's still, and you just come out in this sense of calm, you feel class. Have you ever, you will have done it, but when you go in and there's lots of waves, you come out and the energy is just so much more. I don't know what it is about that. It's just, it feels just like,
go back to being a kid again.
It's just there's so much more energy. I just think in the water there's just so much more energy. The way it's flowing and smashing and crashing. Like 2 times last year we went. It was fucking borderline dangerous. Like it was a high tide and the waves were huge. So like you were out maybe 3 meters and you were getting tossed about the place. But the energy that day, like from everybody, was just insane.
Class.
But it's just, I just think that when you're surrounding yourself with lots of people on that high vibration, I imagine like we'll get into in a wee second, I want to know more about it. But like Happy Fest, for example, when you have a group and like a bigger group of people on that same high vibration, you just feel so much. Like it is powerful. It is. And you can't explain it.
No.
Like me trying to, you have to experience it to fully understand what kind we're saying here. But that feeling of that higher vibration where everybody's just positive and not thinking about it and negative, just kind of being present in there and just.
Funny when we talk about vibration with Happy Fest. 3 weeks out from Happy Fest, we had only 43 tickets sold, and we were due to make a massive loss, like thousands of pounds worth of loss. And we went to an event that weekend called Inception, which was Dynamite Lifestyle. It was Kim Calvert.
Yeah.
So me and my business partner Ciara with Happy Fest arrived up at the Europa. I drove down and said, check Eventbrite, 43 tickets. Can't give up, but we need to do more. We didn't know what to do. So we were only 6 weeks to put it off. And that whole weekend was about vibration. That's all it was, about getting into a vibration of getting into a vibration. And in 3 weeks we went from 43 tickets to 978. No marketing, no paid ads, no influencers, no nothing other than Instagram, but it was getting into that vibration. And for me, the highest vibration is love. So we're like, we need to just give this as much love as possible. Dealing with a lot of people, can you speak, can you do this event? I want paid X amount of pound, we can't afford it. I'm just dealing with them for love, like what can we do for you instead? Or just dealing with every obstacle we came across from a position of love, and it just snowballed in 3 weeks.
Just knocking down walls.
Yeah, but we had to find that vibration within ourselves first and foremost. It wasn't outside of ourselves, we just had to experience it internally, and it just... So for me, seeing that and experiencing that in 3 weeks, I'm like, right, okay, I know this works. I know it's all about energy, all about frequency, all about vibration.
There's no doubt about it. Like if you're surrounded by low vibe people, like even at work. So I'll say work, but in work, if you walk in and if people are dragging their heels at 7 o'clock in the morning, it's fuck this, can't wait to get home. Like it does rub off on you. You go in there on a high vibe and maybe had a good weekend or whatever. You go in there Monday morning and see that it's fuck's tea time yet, is it tea time yet? And people are constantly, and you're surrounded by negativity. It does bring it down. At the end of the day, you leave and your shoulders are slumped, your head's down, and your mind's fried, and then you come to like, I would come to like say here, do a workout surrounded by high vibe people, and you feel like
you've forgotten fucking being annoying in the first place.
Yeah, it's like, why was that even like?
And that's one of the, for me, this is the beauty of being a human being. You can change your vibration like that. And for me, one of the easiest ways to do it is exercise, some form of movement, even if it's 10 minutes. But it mightn't get you from depression to ecstatic, but it will change you a bit in the positive direction. And it's just finding those wee incremental tweaks throughout the day.
A big breath in through your nose outside is just one of those things that can transform you straight away. I with vibration, I kind of have this visualization in my head where I'm like, negative, low vibration stuff is like dark, gloomy colours, and like obviously you see dark, gloomy colours, and then you obviously these people in the high vibration are like the colour of that picture. Do you know what I mean? So you kind of want to be more towards that colour of that picture, and even towards those people. So if you have a lot of black over here and you move over and you feel like you're being sucked in there a wee bit, and then you move over towards these people, and it's just like.
Yeah, I think Einstein said it, that energy can't be created or destroyed, it can only change from one state to another. So we will constantly go from low to high, like that's the ebbs and flows of life. But it's knowing that when you're in a low you can get high, and when you're in a high, don't be taking it for granted that you can go down. It's just managing it better and doing things and being around people that kind of support getting to that high vibrational state.
Even being surrounded by like positive affirmations, like positivities, like on that board there it says positivity is a superpower. I remember doing a bit of research into a thing called perception without awareness, and it's all to do with like there's so much of our environments we don't constantly take in, but it can influence our mood and our decisions and things around us. Darren Brown actually done a thing on it. He was the very first guy I seen do it.
Fascinating.
And they did an experiment at I think it was in a shopping centre, and then in the shop window they had mannequins holding cash, right? And then they had somebody who was homeless sitting outside with money. And what they noticed was, and all the ads like around the place were like, give it away, give away. And whenever they had them ads up, see the homeless people were coming up and giving somebody gave the homeless guy their shoes. And it was all to do with a thing called perception without awareness.
Wow.
And I think it's all about repeating those positive affirmations.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, man.
I always say to clients, we use things called positive triggers. So people think a trigger is always a negative thing. Oh, he's triggering me, or this is triggering me. A trigger is just an external event triggering an internal emotion. You can use triggers as a positive way. The likes of, I keep my gold card in my wallet. So anytime I lift my wallet out, I'll see my gold. And my wardrobe as well, if my gold list. So each morning I might necessarily read through it, but it's there. you know, different wee quotes. It might be a song that makes me feel good, but it's just about unconsciously triggering good emotional reactions within.
I suppose it's similar to when the likes of meditation, you can't really control what comes in, you control what stays.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean, like you're going to be hit with things that are going to be holding you back or are going to absolutely trigger you, but you can decide, I'm going to let that, or I'm going to have these tools. We talk about tools in the toolbox. You're going to have these tools in place to get you out of that hole if you're feeling, it's being aware that you're actually in it.
Yeah.
A lot of people will go through maybe half a day before realising here that thing I'm annoyed about was like 3 minutes long, and I've let it stay in my head all day here, but it was actually, I was over it at the time, do you know what I mean? So it's about reaching into the toolbox, grabbing the tools that are going to help you get back to where you know you need to be. Gratitude list, goal list, just things like gratitude list is a perfect one.
Yeah.
Fucking like 2 seconds in the morning, three things you're
100%.
3 things you're grateful for. I mean, we all have that. Some people really struggle to work those 3 things out, but we all have it.
Gratitude's a really high vibrational emotion.
Yep.
For me, like the thing with gratitude, it's almost like a buzzword now. Every mentor you go, it's gratitude, 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 and writing 3 things down. And I did that for ages, like every morning, coffee, kids are healthy, roof over my head. But we'll have to remember as well, gratitude's a feeling. You have to feel the feeling of being grateful as opposed to just writing stuff down, because then it becomes a tick box exercise. I think the key is to even meditate on it for a couple of minutes. If you're writing down, well, my kids are healthy, and just sit and think about your kids being healthy and how grateful you are for that, and start to feel the emotion of gratitude. I think that's where we sometimes get it wrong with those. We'll just write it down, but it's about feeling those feelings. Like that's our emotions are the vibration within the body. You know, that's an emotion is energy in motion, and we want to. It's like inner alchemy. We want to change the low vibrational emotions such as fear and self-doubt up into self-belief and courage and positivity. And sometimes a simple reframe such as, you know, for this week, for example, I have a really busy schedule this week. And when I was on Sunday night planning the week ahead, I was feeling a wee bit sorry for myself. I've took on too much. Like, when am I getting a break? And just a wee subtle reframe and into, I'm really, really grateful to be, you know, have this work and to have opportunities like today. And it just made me feel like shoulders dropped and felt really grateful, and I felt it and went, no, bring it on. You know, and that was a 30-second of feeling sorry for myself to now excited for the week ahead. And it was just tapping into the feeling of being grateful.
I can resonate with that 100% with the gym. Obviously Mark's coming in and coaching more now, but at the very, very start it was just me, and my wife was still working another job, but she was helping out as well. But the weeks are just flying, and before you know you start the week again, and you need to take a minute, take a breath, and realise that this is what I wanted, that, you know, that I actually get to do this.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Lucky.
Yeah, but for a short period at the start, it's just so overwhelming. And see, when you're coaching, both you guys know this, you give so much, right? So you just give so. It's not an hour of anything. You give so much, and you're doing that 5-6 times a day, and you're up first thing in the morning. You're close, like, so. But people were asking, like, so many hours do you work a day? Really? And like, all of them. Because when you're starting a business, it's like you don't just have your 9 to 5 turn off or whatever. It's like so you're up at 5:30, and then you close the laptop at like 10:30 at night.
Yeah.
And that's literally it, because you're wearing all the hats, you're doing all the things.
Yeah.
And it can be very overwhelming, and you know, it sort of builds up on you, and then you get to the point where you're just tired, you're walking over to the blackboard and you're going through that moment where it's like, right, 3, 2, 1, and then you switch back on, because these people are here for you and you need to show up for them. You're their coach, you need to bring the vibration, you need to bring that energy, but it's so hard when you don't have it to give. But you need to sit back and then realise, like, I'm fortunate to be able to do this, like, this, what, for a living? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's incredible. It's everything that you would have ever have dreamed of, but you can let the rest of it kind of cloud what you're doing. And I find myself taking big deep breaths in outside, a couple of breaths in the nose, and saying thank you quite a lot. I don't know who the fuck I'm saying it to, but I feel thankful.
And that's the key, feeling
thankful. And I feel grateful, I feel thankful, and I'm just always saying thank you, because I don't know who I'm saying it to, because it doesn't really matter. But you just you feel like you want to just show the gratitude that you have.
Class.
But it's a feeling, as you say, because you
Yeah.
feel it and then you just say the words.
It's the feeling that changes the vibration, you know.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the beauty of doing something you love as well. There's blurred lines between work and life. Like this is good crack. It's not work, but it is work. Do you know what I mean? Like this is our living, and we're promoting our businesses, but it's not work. You know, I could never go back to real life work. For me, there's almost, it seems to be a bit like slavery. Like to go back and somebody say, "Oh, Ciaran, go on and type at that computer for 4 hours and then take a half an hour break and then do it again." Whereas today I've had a couple of meetings and nice chat here. You know, get home for a while and then I'm back in a wee box.
Imagine going back from a life where you're actively changing the world, right? So this is what I feel. I guarantee you feel the same. Mark, you feel the same. You're changing the world. You know, whether that seems like a ridiculous thing to say or not, but that's what you're doing, right? So you're changing the world. And as I said to you, like, Ciaran, this is all going to end tomorrow, and you're going to go back in on Monday, and you're going to work in an office, and you're just going to do these tasks. Don't really mean anything, but they need done because this is just the way it is. How could you slot back into that life after knowing this feeling?
My friend says at this stage when you love your job, you're unemployable as fuck.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, you're just like, if somebody said that to you, you would go, "No, thank you."
It's like winning the lottery and then going back to having nothing. Do you know what I mean? That's how it feels.
Yeah.
And this by no means is like winning the lottery in terms of finance, but this passion's there. That's the joy, because yes, like you obviously it's not finance driven. Like I think when you're passionate about something enough, that will come into it and that will just flow itself. But when it's not driven by finance and passion takes over, that's where the joy is.
Money doesn't bring happiness, like it really doesn't.
Listen, I've always said it in all the things I've done, there's easier ways to make money.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And if money was your goal, but like I've met loads of people who are depressed millionaires. Do you know what I mean? Like I know a lot of people
100%.
who are extremely successful, and you know that's not the thing.
I always ask people, where in your life are you a millionaire already? So like, would you swap your partner, your kids, their health for £1 million? No. Would you swap your life, your livelihood, your gym, your business, relationships, your family for £1 million? Like there's so much aspects of our life where we've already got it all. You know, you wouldn't swap it for £1 million. So then you have to weigh up and go, well, what's more important to me? I already am a millionaire on all these aspects of my life.
Well, I was watching Only Fools and Horses last night. You've probably seen this episode where they become married.
Love that someone changed there.
Subtle on it.
I thought this time next year, Randy will be millionaires.
The bit where they actually do become millionaires, and Dale comes back to the house with he's selling radios or something, and all these like, "Dale, we don't have to do this no more. We've made it." But his happiness came from like his whole purpose in life was wheeler and dealer and talking to people, and that's where he got his joy from. Class, you know, and you do see that.
Yeah,
probably happen in real time as well with people who come into money. Do you know what I mean?
I think if you enjoy hard work, it's not about the reward. The reward will be to do with the money, but that's not really probably why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If you're passionate about something, it's definitely not about money. You know what I mean? Fuck me, like anything you're passionate about generally has no money, has very little money in it, and then you have to create something that generates money. Like, you know, most things that you're passionate about have no sort of actual financial value. You know, until you create it.
100%. And Jim Rohn, the great kind of mentor of Tony Robbins, he always said, it's not about being a millionaire, it's the person you become on the journey to doing that. It's learning all the self-discipline, and his big thing is work harder on yourself than you do in your job. And he said that when you love something, there's very rarely like a monetary gain, because you would do it for free. But then it's thinking, okay, I can do that, how can I be of service to others? So you love helping people, like you love transformation in people in terms of their physical, mental and emotional health. So the bigger impact you have on their life, the more they're willing to do an energy exchange with you, which is in the form of money. It's like, you're making me look younger, so I want to give you money for it, you know? Yeah. And that's when it comes. But I think when your soul like rationale for doing what you do is money. You never make it. You know, it's about the passion, the purpose, you know, the endeavour that you pursue, and then money is a byproduct of that. You know, but it's never. I think the day you stop chasing it is the day it comes.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. Tell me about Happy Fest. What is Happy Fest?
So Happy Fest was one of Northern Ireland. It was a unique event last year. It was to showcase holistic and local businesses. So everything from gyms to yoga, you know, everything. So we had a market stall within it, and it was anything that can help your mind, body, or soul. Then we had a full itinerary of speakers, bouncy castle, singers, songwriters, and it was held in Crawfordsburn Scout Centre. And it was meant to be a one-off event.
Was it a day last time?
It was a one-day event. It was Saturday the 21st of August last year. Then the feedback we got was, where the fuck has this been? I thought I was on my own. I felt lonely. I didn't realise there was 1,000 other people in Northern Ireland of all places that were interested in this. So we kind of sat down and thought, okay, like, what's our legacy with this? We can't allow it to be a one-off. So we started doing like residential wellness retreats, 6-week courses, bringing in different facilitators. And this year we've decided to run it over 2 days. So we're about to announce it on Sunday, but it's going to be Saturday the 1st and Sunday the 2nd of July back in Crawfordsburn. Hopefully this in the next couple of weeks get a couple of big speakers announced over the line, a couple of big singers, and just the same emphasis. It's alcohol free. It's a real family friendly day. So bouncy castles, face painting for kids, mindfulness classes for kids, cookery classes, a couple of really big speakers, singers, you know, just the full shebang again. But it's just a high vibration day. Like everyone, last year we were blessed with the sunshine, but families were just sitting with picnics, you know, listening to talks, kids were playing. And my mum went actually, and my mum's quite quiet. She's like, I've never seen as many people hug each other before. Everyone was just, what about you, and hugging, and it just felt like a really good day. It was powerful. I think it's needed, and I think it's going to go really big, probably much too big for us, which is great because it's not about us.
Good.
It's not about us, so the bigger it gets, the more people that it positively impacts, the better.
Do you know what? I love this about sort of innovative creative thinkers. You have to just try something, right? So see if it flopped last year, nobody went, and it just didn't really take off, right?
But which it nearly did.
Right? But if it did, like, okay,
Yeah.
move on. Do you know what I mean? But you tried and moved on. You know, it didn't work. The principle was there. It just wasn't the right thing. But because you tried it last year, you're now able to impact, you know, 10 times as many more people.
I have zero experience in events.
Yeah.
Nothing. I've never done anything like that before. Your girl Ciara that asked me to go into it with her, and she's been in business 16 years, very successful. Again, nothing like this. She just was like, this is my vision. And I kind of could see her vision and bought into it. I loved the fact that it was all about positively influencing people. It was to try and get people to find really that there is other ways of finding your happiness. And I suppose an underlying element that suicide is never the answer. There are amazing facilities within our country and people really want to help you, you know, and whatever it is. And even just to think outside the antidepressant box, like there is yoga classes, there's gyms, there's nutritionists, there's therapists, there's the sea, there's mountains, there's all these things, at least have the awareness that they exist. So I kind of thought, okay, I will learn a lot working with this girl. We were friends anyway, and there's nothing to lose. It's you know, I have made peace with fear. I had to take a loan to put the money down towards it. I think when you always make a decision out of courage, you're rewarded. And when there's a good intention behind it, and our intention was to showcase all these amazing people we have in our community. And it blew up beyond our wildest dreams. Now financially it wasn't lucrative, you know, because with all these outgoings, but it was never about the money, ever. It never will be about the money. It's a real passion thing, you know. It's really
people
special.
first.
Yeah, and just even seeing my kids there, like I want stuff like that to be the norm. And it's not being disrespectful to my mum and dad. I love them, but like as kids we were taken down to Carnlough to the caravan. They kind of took us out of Belfast over the 12th and that. But a lot of the time you spent it in a pub, your parents were doing their thing, and that was just a
It was
generational
a
culture.
different time.
Yeah, whereas I like the fact that my kids are running about Happy Fest and going to different wee things like that, and I want that to be there. Nor I wanted them to be sitting in 20 years going, do you remember my man and dad used to take us to all these wellness events, the bloody hippies, do you know what I mean?
I was about to say.
But yeah, it's just something different.
Yeah, there's definitely worse things you can be brought to. Like
Yeah.
when I have ideas about things or like events, small or big, that I would like to run or do in the future, it's like I would love to go to that, and then that's the premise of where it would start. So like the likes of Happy Fest, like you're thinking, well, I would love my kids to be involved in that. That would be class. Oh, this is that's how you sort of can convince yourself that this is a good idea, because I would go to it and it would be brilliant.
Yeah. It's ideas that change the world. I have like a litmus test with ideas. Like I try and sit at least one period a day and have come up with ideas, and if they excite me, like really excite me, I know it's right, and try and follow that excitement, even if it seems completely unachievable. If I know that it excites me, I don't need to know how I'm going to achieve it. I just need to know it really excites me and that I can, and just follow the excitement. I think when you follow the excitement, you do what needs done to get there, you know.
I have ADHD and I have a million exciting ideas a day. I'm not even joking. Like if I followed your if I followed the way you do it, I wouldn't get anywhere.
But that's beautiful, because a lot of people don't think. You know, a lot of people in school were told what to think, not how to think. We are creative beings. We're meant to have ideas, and I think a lot of that creativity gets kind of quashed in the education system. So we're not, like, for example, you're telling kids, oh, there's only one right answer, but of course there's many different ways to get to that sum. Do you know what I mean? So it's really important to have ideas. It's really important to get excited, because if we don't, even if I feel, oh God, I'm getting loads, at least we know it's working, as opposed to, oh, there's no point having ideas, sure, there's only one answer and I can only do this. And so I would see that as a that you have a lot of creativity that needs to be expressed.
This was an idea, but like,
exactly.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, so I have, but what I've become aware of and realised over the years, as I get older and kind of learn more about myself, some of them are amazing ideas, but not for me, right? So, and then sometimes those ideas I've passed on to other people who've done extremely well with those ideas, but I couldn't have done what they've done, because it was just a good idea, but it wasn't a good idea for me.
Yeah.
Whereas when you hit the ground running on an idea that you feel is good for you and you're passionate about, this place, perfect example, I had tunnel vision, whereas I never had that before. You know, I've always been put in different directions, but with this place it was tunnel vision. It was dead easy just to be focused on and see this through. Whereas a lot of the ideas, you know they're good ideas, but you're just not passionate about them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You get excited by the idea of the fact that it's a good idea, but you're just not passionate about it. But when you find that one thing or something in particular that has lots of things coming off it, but you're tunnel, like it gets done.
Yeah.
And before you know it's been done, and you're like, fuck, how did I manage to get that done? I have fucking ADHD here. Fucking managed to do a renovation in a fucking gym, open a gym, get loads of members. How did we get here? But again, it's just when you're passionate about it, the tunnel gets smaller. So where I look at ADHD is we can see we have lots of different things going on at one time, but when you're sort of passionate about it, kind of brings it in.
So you have loads of tabs open on the computer.
Oh fuck!
But
we just have lots of things all the time. You know what I mean? Just always thinking about lots of things all the time. We can do, and we have the ability and function to be able to think about lots of things all the time. But the thing with that is, you maybe run at 70% on each thing. So you maybe have 30 things going on, but you're on the 70% instead of being dialed in and focused at 100% on one.
Yeah.
So you never really.
Is it like a lot of noise going on in your head, or?
It can be, but yeah, there's probably times it'd be harder than others. But then again, it's being aware. So like, what would create more of that noise? Sugar, high sugar content, create more noise. High caffeine content, create more noise. So it's about being aware of things that will sort of have you have less sort of noise.
What helps it subside? What?
Being aware of like that this is just an idea and this isn't an actual real feeling. Like this isn't real. Do you know what I mean? So you've obviously got your feelings, the things that you know are true, but then obviously understanding that we would be quite impulsive. but realising that this is just an impulsive act, this isn't actually what I want to do.
Yeah.
But it takes years to get to a point where you actually realise that, because when you're a child you don't realise that, when you're a teenager you don't realise that. So this is why you do all these mad fucking impulsive things and you're seen as like a child that just doesn't do what they're told. But it's because we just like, here you do that and then that's, you've done it. Do you know what I mean? Whereas when you get older it's just a wee bit different.
Yeah.
You just but it's about self-awareness. It's like, you know, it's not just
I mean, it's almost like a superpower too. If you're able to harness that and you have like laser focus, if you are able to
what's it called? Hyperfocus. So like people with ADHD have the ability to hyperfocus. So it's like this place. When you dial in on that thing you're passionate about, you can actually double down on that and have lots of brain power to it. But for the rest of the majority of the time, you've lots of things going on.
But funny, there's this, I'll try and find it and send you through, there's a study done that a high percentage of entrepreneurs have some form of ADD or ADHD. And a lot of them undiagnosed, but they show traits of it. And that's why they've high energy output. But when they double down on the hyper focus, they are able to accomplish more than 10 people, you know, and they all put their, even on, regardless of the ADD or the ADHD, entrepreneurs, like there's this study and they're asked what's the one thing that you would say to, for somebody that's getting into entrepreneurship to take on board, and they've all said focus, like that ability to focus on one thing, because in this day and age we're constantly distracted, constantly. So if you're on the laptop and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to get a bit of admin done for this week ahead, and then you're scrolling on your phone and the door's rapping and you're that starts to take that really acute laser and just making it wider and wider and wider, but the wider it gets the less powerful and productive it is, you know. So focus is such an amazing human trait that we're losing, probably. That's why I'm so big into meditation. It helps me get that focus back.
Well, the likes of the way our devices, internet, social media and all, it's not geared towards focus, it's geared towards how many reels or how many things could, like you absorb like a millisecond of each thing. And I do as well, but I could see like my youngest, he has ADHD, but I could hear the noise of it going from clip to clip to clip to clip to clip, do you know what I mean? But like, so he could have scrolled through 1,000 clips. Do you know what I mean?
It's scary.
It is scary, it is, but you're taking in a wee bit of each, but a little bit of knowledge about a lot of things is quite dangerous. So if you're taking in a little bit of knowledge about it, your view on life could be a little bit skewed.
100%. That's why I'm so proud. For me, I relish being busy, I relish being around people, but I also know for me to perform optimally, I need my days where I just go away into nature and have no noise unless it's natural noise, you know. And even it's like we're looking at our phones up front, even to be able to, like, when you're in nature it's all long distance, you know, and you have that space and you feel liberated. I think it's really, really important to just have that like decompression as well, away from all the constant scrolling and like the only information in nature is trees and sounds, and it's almost like getting a big hug. You know, is it taking you out of that caffeinated state and just slowing you right down to your natural vibration, I suppose.
I was in a restaurant there last Saturday, and I would say like 90% of people, the couples, you're sitting there and I'm sitting here on their phones, kids on iPads, and you're just kind of with yourself, where is the art of conversation? Like, you're coming out to a nice restaurant for a meal, and this is maybe this, you know, listen to the sounds, the lighting, you know, just really lean into it and embrace it, and you've couples there who are just on their phones.
We took our kids to Dublin Zoo on Friday. They were off on mid-term break, so obviously you're going into a zoo, which I don't really agree with, like paying to see these animals, but took the kids anyway, and we're at the lion, and I turned around and there was about 6 people behind me just on their phone, and these kids walking behind their parents, and they were walking like this, and I remember thinking, this is like, you belong in a zoo, like this is insane. I remember thinking, if you zoomed out, like, people would be looking at these humans stuck to their phones going, what's wrong with them? Like, it was really like,
I often have that thing where I'm like, imagine you just got a flash forward in time and you seen this screenshot image of these people, then you wouldn't, or 10 years ago, imagine you screenshot and flew forward this image here, you'd be like, you wouldn't be able to understand it.
In 10 years it's going to be the big addiction. There will be counsellors for kids in school, there will be things to try and reduce screen time, but it's it's not being spoke about enough, but it's a massive addiction.
Here's a perfect example, right? So yesterday, and my eldest, he's 17, he's doing his A levels. He's a good kid. Like he's not a dickhead. But his teacher phoned me, and the girl at the reception phoned me. He got his phone taken off him yesterday, so they can't give the phones back to the kids. So the parent has to come in and get the phone, just so it's just so they learn a bit of a lesson. But he's playing chess. He was in study leave and he was playing chess. So like I didn't.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't feel like he was doing anything that it was too. But anyway, he shouldn't have been on his phone. But what I'm saying is, when I went to get the phone, there's a queue of people behind me, all queuing up to get the kids' phones, right? And she says to me, the girl behind things like, like we have to do this, but like this is just a revolving door of people constantly just queuing up to get their phones at the end of the day, and it has to be a parent coming in to get these phones. You can't give them back to the kids, but that's just mad. The way it's just like 2 or 3 people behind me queuing up for the same thing.
It's not an extension of people.
Yeah,
they're lost with
part of me kind of wanted to leave it there for a few days, right? Just for him to not be on his phone for a few days and just sort of, but he's on his Xbox and stuff as well. Like so, it's not like I wouldn't have really been teaching him anything. Yeah. And I didn't really think it was fair. Like he shouldn't have really been. He should have been punished because he wasn't. He shouldn't have been on his phone because he told him not to be. But I just didn't want to. I don't know. He's not a bad kid. But I just thought it was weird. It was just because I didn't think I'd know it. And then I turned around, there's 3 people standing behind me, and the girl next to me says, "Just come and collect that phone," and then the person after just come and collect that phone. It's like a revolving door. People come, but that's just what you're saying about, this is going to be an issue going forward because our youngest, he's 9, and he's flat out on like phone or iPad or whatever, just constantly watching content.
There's so much false information out there too, mate. Like I watched this movie last week, Don't Look Up. Have you seen it? With
No, I've heard of it.
So essentially, it's like it's all really like fake news. So there's this massive asteroid coming.
Yes.
Spoiler alert. There's this massive asteroid coming to Earth, and sort of way with I think they're sort of like playing on the whole Trump and Biden thing, and the Democrats, the Republicans are saying don't look up at the sky, don't look up at the sky, and it's all hoax, it's all fake until it's too late. That's like.
Oh, I did see that.
It's quite.
I haven't watched it yet, but I've heard it. Yeah.
I mean, there's so much false information out there too, and I think. What's the long-term effects of that? You touched on it there. You said like you'd be watching 1,000 reels and taking bits and pieces of, and like what's the long-term effects of that for youth especially? Like,
well, it's like having no relationship with a female, watching pornography and thinking this is how it works, right? And you're just getting wee snippets of information all the time. So this is how our relationship should work. This is how I should treat. You know what I mean? Without getting any real life sort of feedback on it, and then you're sort of set out to the world after doing this for 4 years, and like you've served your apprenticeship as a teenager, and now you're going out to adulthood, and this is how you behave because this is what you've seen. Small clippets or whatever.
But if all that had been about whenever you were a teenager and you had access to porn on your phone with ADHD, made that like.
I tried my best, like. do you know the my mum picked up the photo the other day.
I think porn's probably the most disempowering thing for men. Like it really is. It just gives you a warped sense of view of not just women, but what a sexual encounter should be like. But then even somebody made a good point recently, even in terms of like penis size and stuff. Like for a young teenager to watch that and think, oh. Mine should look like that, and it should be as good as that, and my body should look like this. Like it's given a young kid, because let's be honest, if a teenager's doing that, they're not telling their parents or their older brother or their uncle that they're watching it. It's almost like
and they keep it all, that's all like internal thoughts.
Yeah, so they can never even say, is that real or is that what it's meant to look like? It's very, very dangerous, And then, like I'm big into human connection. So if you have a teenage boy and a teenage girl and he's watching this, like he then thinks that's what it should look like and be like, it's I mean Jordan Peterson touches on it in terms of like just that it's stripping away what masculinity is, we're meant to like explore women sexually if that's what way you're inclined, but to have this preconceived idea that it should be like a pornography film is just ruining boys' chances of ever developing a healthy relationship with a woman.
Do you know the thing about it is, I don't know what you do about that.
Gary V.
Yep.
So he was asked a question recently by a concerned mum. She said, how do I protect my daughter from the internet in terms of like Snapchat and because everything's highly sexualized now. And he said, you can't. And I don't think she liked the answer. What do you mean you can't? You're Gary V, you're meant to give me something different. You can't protect her. Your daughter is going to have access to a smartphone. If you take her phone, she'll have access to a laptop in school. You can't protect her from the internet, but what you must do is provide her with so much self-esteem and self-confidence and self-worth that she's not going to be distracted by that. Mm-hmm. I thought that was really powerful. I think that's what we do. I think we have to teach our sons and our daughters self-respect, self-love, have awkward conversations at times, and give them so much self-esteem that when they are confronted with this, and they will be, do you know what I mean, that they're able to react better as opposed to peer pressure or, kids are inquisitive, but they at least have the self-esteem and self-respect and confidence to go, okay, I've seen it, I don't need to pursue it.
Mm-hmm. What's next, Ciaran? What's on the goals for 2023? What have you got?
So for me, I started last year, tail end of last year, doing a bit of public speaking. Mm-hmm. I went and seen a guy called Pat Dively speaking live in Belfast in June, and I became good friends with Pat. And I was watching him, like how he held a room, people hanging off his word, but with a real sense of authenticity. And I was like, I love that. I would love to do that. Mm-hmm. So that was June last year. I went home that night and told my wife I'm going to do that this time next year, and I wrote it down. And then in January this year, so 7 months later, I did my first solo talk called Awaken the Power Within in the Balmoral Hotel in Belfast and sold it out, which I couldn't believe. It was like, wow, this is incredible. So in March I'm doing the same talk in Dublin, Derry in May, Happy Fest in July, and then I'm going to do the talks again later in the year.
You did do what you said you wanted to do, because one of my friends was at it and he said what you just said about you. He says you held the room.
Oh wow, class.
So what you described about what you wanted to do from Pat, you did that, because he said that to me about you.
Oh, fantastic, that's good. Yeah, and I openly, people say to me, do you get nervous? I really do. Yeah. I actually do get nervous,
He loved it.
Again, I think it's making peace with the nerves. Mm-hmm. And I always say, like, if what you're doing is in alignment with your purpose and your values, feel the fear and do it anyway. Mm-hmm.
It's like Michael Conlon, goes back to exactly what you said. Like, of course you're going to be scared. Mm-hmm. Like, of course you're going to be nervous. Why would you not be?
Yeah.
Like, you should be.
Yeah, and the microphone went off a couple of times. At the very, very start.
Tough crack.
No, at the very start. So Kate Conway's became a great friend of mine over the last couple of years, and she introduced me on the stage, and my mum was there. My mum was like the proudest woman in the world. Mm-hmm. And actually says, like, 3 years ago I felt lost in life, like I didn't know my direction, and now Kate Conway's introducing me on the stage. This is phenomenal. And then the microphone cut out, and it kept cutting out for about 5 minutes, and I was like, what? There's nothing I can do here other than remain calm. Mm-hmm. And thankfully I didn't realise Kate had run out and said to the managers, like, you need to get new batteries in the microphone. But for the first 5 minutes it kept, and I remember thinking, I want the ground to swallow me up here. And it was the most lonely place in the world.
What is that?
First show, 160 people had paid to come, and it was like, fuck, not even a fucking microphone's working. What do you do? And it was like, have to there's nothing, it's outside of your control. Stay calm.
Tell some jokes.
I made a joke out of it, and actually I was like, you can get your money back at the door. Sorry guys, the microphone's not working. Thankfully, but it was a great test.
Yeah.
It was a great test, and I always trying, where's the lesson? And the lesson for me was, I wanted to get bigger, more professional. I'm going to hire an AV guy the next time, so I don't even need to think about that. You know.
I was speaking up in Tillygrass Hotel. I was in ISCC, Northern Ireland Social Care Council. There was so I had cancer. It was to do with mental health services surrounding cancer, and there was a social worker who was assigned to me. He says, "Would you like to speak?" And I said, "This is many people's going to be there." He goes, 30, and I went right there on and walked in. Mate, the room was packed. Right, and I was like, "Fuck you." But
you lied to me.
At that stage, mate, there was nowhere to hide. And see what you're saying with the microphone. They were cutting them out. No, I was like, oh no. But you know what I find? I find that by speaking about my experiences and being real, open and honest, like I had all the shit written down that I was going to say, and I just didn't even look at it. I just started speaking from
the heart.
Yeah. And anybody else who's up speaking beforehand, and yes, okay, I was talking about the cancer experience, but anybody else who's up beforehand was all like looking at the crowd, and I got to the stage where I said, I do not care what people think. I'm just telling my story exactly the way it happened, and we're just going to have at it. And see afterwards, I said, it was to do with the wait times for mental health services, and I said something's got to change. If not now, when? And if not you, who? I don't even know where I came from. Honestly, it just floated me. I was like, what the fuck? And the room
Sounds perfect.
Yeah, the room erupted.
Do you know what's really bizarre?
Uh-huh.
I ended my talk with that exact same.
No way. Ciaran, you're fucking legend.
On my kids' life.
Yeah, we perception without awareness. We've heard that somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That you've ended up just when you said it. I went, wow, it's bizarre.
Yeah.
But
I wasn't there. I wasn't that sure.
but you told me about this event in Ballymena. I don't know if I maybe heard that line. But the same thing. I didn't plan to say it. I just came out at the end. But that's weird.
Mad in it.
Class.
But the place erupted, and I was standing up there. I was like, don't cry, but don't cry. But it was just insane, man.
I was on the phone the whole way up here to a guy, a friend of mine, and we were talking about something like that. That technology's going to continue to increase, but if you can talk from your heart to another person's, you touch them. You know, that's a skill. And I think as technology, like in phones and gadgets, become more prominent, we almost yearn for that connection of somebody showing a bit of vulnerability. Like, it's not pre-planned, it's not written out, it's you're speaking from the heart. And I think that's why it resonates with people. Yeah. Because it's that human side. I want that, I need that.
It's not a sales pitch, it's not buy my product, it's
here's my pain and also here's my love. And you know,
I find that with online coaching. Like after a short period of doing it, I was like, I can't do this. I need to be with the person. I need to physically speak and see the person before I can make any change in their life. Because you know all the information's out there. You know, online you can just go and look for something. So it makes a difference. So maybe it's very hard to make a difference through a screen dialogue or like through like even on a video call. You know, there's not a human connection on a video call the same way as with me and you're sitting here. Because at the end of the day, if me and you're sitting here and you ask me a question, I have nowhere to hide. So my initial response would be, I have to actually answer this question, and your probably first response would be the most truthful one. Whereas if it's through a screen or you're like sending somebody a message and asking them about how their day was and everything else, it gives them lots of opportunity to think of an answer. Whereas if you ask me a direct question and it's just silence, and you know what I mean, like the easiest way is just to tell the truth. Whereas and then you can make real difference and you can actually make progress going forward with people. Whereas with online, I find it really, really difficult and not the way I can be changing lives. And at that time, it was one of those things where everybody was trying to go online coaching, and that was like, you can do X, Y, and Z, and this is it. But again, that was like a money-driven thing. You know, you can buy yourself time. It was like, fucking one time, I want to change lives, I want to make an impact, and I can only make an impact if I'm actually in front of you, and then that's obviously where this came about, where it's like, right, we need to build a community where we can actually get in front of people, and we can all, if I can show these people the way I am, then they'll be able to show people the way they are, and then that's how you shape the world.
Community's the key thing. Our community's essential.
100%.
This is almost like a community hub. You know, this new building with the podcast room, the gym itself, but it's people need a safe space. Sometimes work or their home isn't their safe space. You know, and to have somewhere with like-minded people, even if it's for an hour a day, is they're everything. You know, you can't get that online.
We always said from the start this was like a community centre based around health and fitness. So it wasn't a gym, right? Because a gym is just a building, but it's like a church. If you think about church, a church is the people in it. It's not necessarily a building. Do you know what I mean? So this is, yes, we have somewhere that actually has a room with purpose where we can actually physically change people's lives, but the whole idea was this was a community centre where we grow the community that has a health and fitness, you know, sort of background.
Amazing.
But we're doing so much. We're doing so much more. We plan to do so much more. Something I pick your brain about after. But again, saving the world. That is what we want to do. And that sounds so. I don't know, it just sounds very like wide, but
But you're putting out, like I call it the ripple effect. You don't know what's going on in somebody's life, and then they get here, you're making them feel better. Then they go home to their husband and their kids, and they're all benefiting of them coming home in better mood. You know, it's so it is far-reaching.
yeah,
Like, and you don't know how far those ripples are going because it's immeasurable. But you are changing the world by changing yourself and then people in here, because those ripples are going out all over the city. You know,
yeah.
at the very least.
I know, I love it. Do you know what? It's nice. It's nice to feel like, especially with ADHD, to feel like you have dialed in on something that you can make a massive impact with. Because as I said before, you're running lots of different things at 70-60%, and you don't feel you're making an impact. Do you know what I mean? Because you're never really seeing anything through to the full extent, and you know, you with ADHD you normally pick things up really quickly, but you always stay around that percentage. So like if I went to any sort of classes of things before, like first time in a class, second time in a class, doing something brand new, I'd have been quite good at it compared to everybody else, but you generally stay there, and everybody just kind of creeps on past, because again it comes down to focus and things like that. Whereas you can be good at lots of things, but you never really be excellent.
Yeah.
Whereas unless you find something with actual purpose that you're sort of guided towards, then you can supersede anything. You know what I mean? You're in your own sort of.
It's just allowing that to flow. Like I always say to people, I'm the worst person ever to be involved in self-development, because I don't think you can develop the self. I think the self is like the soul or the spirit or the essence, which is perfect, and you can't develop perfection, but you can express it, and that like perfection's constantly seeking to express itself. And then what we do is we limit the self by self-limiting beliefs to say like, I have ADHD, I can't do that. But it's when you allow that perfection to come out and express itself by building a community hub, by helping these people, it just keeps coming more, and that's when you start to feel in alignment. You know, this is my purpose, this feels right, I know I'm capable of much more. You know, it's perfect.
Do you know, it's funny, that's something that we say quite a lot. Again, it's not about sort of, it's not that I don't sort of agree, I just don't use really the phrase of self-development, but it's showing people how amazing they are, right? If you can show somebody how amazing they are, like they don't need to change.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
No one's.
As
no
you
one's
say,
broken.
yourself is already perfect. So all you're doing is just showing them how amazing they are. And it's like, so when we take like lots of photographs in here of members when they're training, I think everybody looks class. So I'm taking these photographs and I'm like, this is what you actually look like. You don't see yourself this way. You look in the mirror and see your perception, your warped perception of what, all the things you hate about yourself.
And,
you don't. I'm showing you this is you, and this is what you look like. Yes, the lighting is a wee bit better in here, but this is you. This is still you, and I want to show you how amazing you are. And then I think that's how we can make an impact and sort of
class
change. But I never thought about it like that. But yeah, I think everybody is already complete.
Well, that's what I call my awaken the power within. That was within every single person is that perfection. It exists within everyone. You just have to uncover it. You know, we need to unlearn stuff because we've been told, or we have started to believe, I'm not good enough, or I can't do this, or I'm a single mum so I can't go to the gym, or I'm a man so I have to work in construction or A, B and C. So it's kind of unlearning all those, and as you start to unlearn all that, you kind of take the armour off, and then you see the perfection, you know.
You have this big bright light just waiting to
just
burst right through the
literally busting to come forward.
I mean, think about it this way, you're standing on a stage now speaking in front of many hundred people, and I've no doubt it will grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. But were you always this confident self of speaking?
No.
You know, so you started somewhere as well.
So my first natural resilience workshop was 2019. 2019, which isn't that long ago, and it was for 12 people each time. And the first 3 or 4 workshops, I didn't have the confidence to stand up, so I got everyone in a circle and I sat in the chair in the circle.
Yeah.
And then I think the 4th one, I was able to have the confidence to stand up. But no, that's something.
I think people see the finished product a lot of the time, so it's like they'll see you, even with powerlifting, they'll see, oh, he's a machine, look how strong he is, he's built, but they don't see the process of getting there.
And it's been a whole lifetime of finding the self, like that's it, of just starting to unlearn and uncover the light within. And now the way you are with the gym, like I think, okay, well my purpose is to try and inspire people through this message, which is you are more, you can be more, it's within you, we just need to shine a light on it. So like I said, with the fear getting on stage, it's I know my purpose, I know where I want to go, and I know the reasons for doing it. So yeah, it just feels
I
right.
think you know your reasons for doing it. Whenever that was my first time ever speaking with Holly, like publicly speaking, and I knew my reasons for doing it were that there's somebody, I'm speaking in a room full of people here who can maybe potentially make a difference, and I know there's somebody out there like me who is maybe too afraid to speak up, and now I've found the strength within me to make a difference or potentially make a difference. So that sort of subsided that fear within me, and then it just took over. The emotion came out, the, you know, as you say, the love as well, like everything came out, and people were like that, and it must have really resonated with a lot of people, because there was generally people crying all the
I think
time.
everybody has a bullshit meter.
Yeah.
So you can feel when something's real. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can feel when conversation's real. You can feel when somebody's just saying things. Do you know what I mean? Whereas yours was obviously dead easy for everybody to read that, okay, he's fucking passionate about this. You know what I mean? This isn't just some scripted bullshit, which maybe was the speeches before you, where it's got just the general fucking clap because it was over. You know what I mean?
No, it's
I think when you find your purpose is a really powerful thing. Like whatever it is, and everyone has a different one, but I think when you find your purpose or your reason for being here, like they always say, when you know your why, the hows become easier. So that was like, again, going back to this week, okay, it's a busy week, there's a lot of whys and whats to be asked, but I know my how, I know my why. So I'm passionate about doing the extra hours and the extra miles, because it's part of my purpose, you know, I have to do this, it's part of the bigger picture. It just makes it, I think like like with life, you're going through it and there's absolutely no map, you know, so that's why it feels like you're lost sometimes. Like your dad doesn't hand you a map and say, oh, this is the path you have to take. So really,
would you take it? Would you even take? I think for me personally, if somebody gave me a roadmap to success and said, look, listen, here's where you need to go. You need to go down the bottom of the road. And you go I would still.
Yeah.
It's in me to. I need to find my own way.
Yeah, I think in teenage years I probably would have taken them up. Now, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Like I actually relish failure.
The joys in the journey, do you know what I mean? The crusade.
Yeah, 100%.
Because if you didn't imagine like you spent your whole life journeying towards this end goal, but you never got there, you would have a pretty sick life. Like your life would be pretty fulfilled. Whereas imagine like you had this goal and you got there at like age 50. And you're like, right, this is it. Do you know what I mean?
And that happens. Like Tyson Fury says, my whole life I was born to win the world heavyweight title, and I won it. And I went, is that it? Is like what now?
Yeah.
I've done what I've been born to do. And that was his moment for going into a really bad depressive episode. And then it was when he realised, oh well, I can actually be much more than just a heavyweight champion of the world. You know, I don't think he should. I think you should have constant goals and stepping stones.
Yeah.
But I want to be growing and like achieving more until the day I die. Really, I want that constant.
And
growth.
even the goals evolve.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
You know, having like a one fixed goal at the very. It's good to have unrealistic goals that like you can't fathom how you will get there. But it's good to have those goals. But again, those goals can evolve and change, and you're changing, and the days change, and your experience yesterday changed who you are today, and you know what I mean. So like, you know, even goals for this place have already changed. That's okay.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? Because the purpose is still exactly the same. The greater purpose of what we're doing, how we get there. I think when you're rigid with your goals, you miss out on lots of opportunity. And I think that's been a sticking block for me before, because I've been so rigid on things I wanted to achieve. You didn't. Other things bypassed you.
I try with goals. I try and look at mine with like a childlike enthusiasm. You know, like they should excite me. They should be a wee bit adventurous. And if they change, that's okay. You know, it's almost having like playing with them, like seeing life as a game and just playing with it. I have to do wee experiments all the time. Like even my manifesting, I did one like I wrote down about 3 weeks ago, I want to see a yellow duck. Or I want to see a yellow duck. I want to see it. And about 3 days later, my son made a money box in school shaped in a yellow duck. I just started laughing my head. It's just having that childlike enthusiasm, because saying like, oh right, well, you can like attract things, you can build things, you can create things. So what else can I do it with? And just play with it. as opposed to taking it serious. A lot of people set goals, don't achieve them, and give up. I think if you just play with them, just like a game, just play with, can I set a PB, can I do something, can I do this? And then when you find out the answer is yes, then it just excites you to play with it more.
I think the answer is always yes.
Yeah.
I think the answer is always yes.
Yeah.
I think it's like when people start to realise that you can achieve or be or do anything you want to do, you know, it's not, it doesn't mean you're going to get it easily.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, you know, it might not be what you want, but you can do whatever you want to do.
100%.
There's always ways about it, and like even from a financial standpoint, we use money as a reason why we don't attempt to do things. You don't have to actually have the money to do things. All you need to do is have a good enough plan, a good enough idea, and like somebody to believe in you who has it. You like one of my mates made the biggest change in U-turn, and it was the fellow was at your thing, and when he realised that he didn't actually need the money for all these ideas, all he needed to do was have the ideas and the drive and the passion behind it.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of people with the money to do things that don't have the drive, the ideas, or the passion.
100%.
But everyone needs each other to make it work.
But if we go back to the self, and like, I'm not religious at all, but that self, if it is like something more, and I do think it is something more that within every single person, if it is the soul or the spirit, whatever it may be, I think, you know, people say the kingdom of heaven within, or like that is like part of the creator or whatever, so that's why we're creative beings. So if you look at any other animal in the animal kingdom, they have animal instinct. So for example, a squirrel can be born in July, and it gets to October, it knows it needs to start gathering nuts and hibernating because it's encoded in their DNA. There's birds that if they're born and straight away their first winter, it's in their DNA that they know to fly south. We don't have that set rigid thing. We have the ability to create. We can do much more than, we don't need to hibernate, or we don't need to fly south. We can create where we want to go, who we want to be, what we want to do. And that's why that ability to create is, like they say, you know, we are God's highest form of creation. Like, so if we know that, and we know the soul or the self is perfect, I think to not be everything you can be is a sin. Like if that God-like ability is within every single human being, to not express it is the worst thing we can do. And that's why, like, play with it. You know, what can you create? And obviously it always has to have a positive intention, but if that God-like ability is within you, then express it as much as you can. You know, help people, be of service, create opportunities, play with life. You know, just see it from as a big magical playground. I remember somebody saying to me before, like, if life's like a theme park, get to the end and say you experienced it all. You know, the scurry rides, the crop rides, the toilet queue, but just have the experience.
That's the journey towards the final goal you never get to. Still a life worth living, I guess.
Yeah, just be alive. Like, that's Alan Watts, this real deep thinking philosopher. Like, he always seen things from different angles and made other people think. And he was asked, what is life? He says, very, very simple. It's simply to be alive. That's the gift.
Stuff's so interesting. I get in the ice bath and listen to Alan Watts, and it
His
blows my mind. It blows my mind.
His
I
voice
sit there
is
and the
hypnotic.
birds are fucking going, and it's just
Yeah.
at night time you're just like, yeah, it does make you eradicate all the wee silly things that you're thinking about, because it makes you think a wee bit deeper,
Yeah.
and all those wee silly things just fade away.
Yeah. So if we look at it like from a like when people just unconsciously go about their day, you know, say somebody that works in a factory or an office, they just go about their day and they don't really think. And then it's about trying to steal the moments throughout the day that you're fully present, like you are alive. So we spoke about sea swimming the last time, and when you're in this cold sea, you're alive. Like, you're not just moseying about, like, you're fully alive. And it's trying to get as many minutes in the day where you're fully present, fully alive. Like, you're not sleepwalking through life, you know. And I just try and fill the day with moments where I'm like, I feel alive here, like, I'm living.
See, if you didn't actively seek out those moments, you could easily go through a year, a decade without any of them.
Yeah.
Like, imagine 10 years.
A lot of people do. We're lucky.
Yeah,
We are
I know.
so lucky.
Imagine 10 years where you just did not feel alive at one time. You can't recite one time where you felt like this is living.
Yeah.
So I feel like that all the time now, but there was definitely periods in my life where that wasn't even in my vocabulary.
I mean, people are conditioned that way, but
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? It's that conditioning, and then if you come and say to somebody, you need to start.
Well, you think you
challenging.
are them, but like,
Yeah, but
you know what I mean? You've just got a new.
You're existing.
Yeah,
I hear it
yeah.
but I hear it so much with people like, I'm not able. It's easy for you to say I'm not able, and I'm thinking to myself like, there's guys with no legs who are climbing Mount Everest. You know, like, you are like you're capable of so much more, but it's that self-limiting belief. It's that like, and I see if you over time, if you repeat these negative affirmations, like you'll start believing them.
Yeah.
Like, if you wake up every morning and say I'm a piece of shit, I'm not worthy, I'm not attractive, you'll start. It doesn't matter whether you're a Navy SEAL, David Goggins, mate. You'll start believing that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just that's so important to have.
Power of the mind is,
Yeah.
is everything, I
It's
think.
so important how you speak to yourself. That be voice in your head, because if you're listening, do you know what I mean?
Well, thoughts are the language of the mind, so as we speak, the images that we associate with the certain words flicks into your mind. So if you say like yellow taxi, automatically you
New
think of
York.
like a New York cab. But then say, for example, you start to think, oh, I'm not good enough, or I can't do that. The physiology changes in the body, so you start to feel like, well, I'm not good enough. That's why it is important to like recite things like, I am worthy, I'm passionate, I'm courageous, because then you can see the chest coming out. Bring it on. It's, you know, self-talk's huge.
We say in here, if you feel good, you'll feel you look good.
Yeah.
Right, so if you feel, look, I feel fit and healthy, you'll look at yourself in the mirror and you'll see somebody who's fit and healthy.
Yeah.
So then you are fit. Do you know what I mean? Then you are fit and healthy.
Self-love is huge. Like self-love is like a superpower. Men don't speak about it enough because that sounds fruity. You know, that's the way you're brought up and you live in a house to say, oh, you can say love. Self-love is a superpower. Like you can't, I don't think you can truly love another human being until you can truly love yourself.
It's true. Definitely, man, 100%. But then I think it's. I've heard this before as well. People are like, you're selfish. You're very selfish. But I think you have to be selfish. You need to get all of your affairs in order first,
Yeah.
in order to help other people. You,
I
know,
think-
you have to go out into nature
Yeah.
and have you time, and have people call it, well, you're selfish again, but that's what you need to do
Yeah.
in order to be.
I see it as
best version of you.
selfless because I know
Yeah.
if I take that small amount of time for me, when I come home, my wife benefits, my kids benefit, clients benefit, I benefit, you know, so it's, we need to get it, particularly with women have this thing like mummy guilt, like, and you need to go to the gym, like if you're feeling, whatever way you're feeling, like go and exercise, move, speak to people. Well, I can't, I'm guilty about leaving the kids for an hour. That's selfish. It's, well, no, it's selfless because your kids benefit so much when you come home feeling better and more like yourself. So it's just, society's we warped at times where you think when you do love yourself and do things for your own self-growth that it's seen as selfish, where everyone around you benefits. So really, it's selfless.
It's a good way to look at it. Definitely.
Where is your next event?
Next event
I shared
is
one today.
I've actually, the corporate swim race tomorrow. I'm doing a goal setting seminar in Lisburn on Saturday, and then the next big one's Dublin, the Mason Hotel in Dublin on the 23rd of March, the Waterfoot Hotel in Derry on the 9th of May, and then Happy Fest 1st, 2nd of July.
Tickets for these, what is the scenario for are they on Eventbrite?
So yeah, everything's on Eventbrite. Natural Resilience on Eventbrite. The only one doesn't go on Eventbrite is the corporate swim race, and it's all kind of usually done through LinkedIn, you know. But everything else is on Eventbrite.
Cool. And Dublin will be the first international affair.
Yeah. And again, that was my thing. It's so, like you saying about constantly not chasing it but growing and evolving. My thing this year, and I would have been really embarrassed saying this. I wouldn't have said it this time last year. Like I want to think outside of the box of Northern Ireland. I want to think outside the box of Ireland. Like I want to speak in the States one day. I want to maybe do like Dubai and places like that, Europe. You have to at least, you know, think about that. You know, 100%. So
I could see it. See it 5 years time. Where do you see?
Dublin is important for me to do because it proves to me that you can get out of Belfast. You know, it's just an important stepping stone for me. It's to break that self-limiting belief that I will only get a crowd in Belfast, or I can only.
By people who know me.
So I'm now seeing it, as though I'm still growing and I'm still developing, I'm still learning that trade. I'm now finding my comfort in it. Do you know what I mean? So Belfast, I'm now comfortable with. I'm comfortable. I can organise something in Belfast, and I'll not lose money, and I'll be able to portray my message. Dublin, isn't the same. So for me, it's an important growth.
I suppose it's just always seeking that discomfort, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just that pushing that boundaries to
Yeah.
sort of, so obviously jumping to new levels when you sort of break through that boundary and that fear, then you've unlocked that and you're like, right, okay, what's next? You don't be like, right, okay, I'm Neil Belfast, so that's what I'm just going to continue to do.
Do you know what, I was asked to speak, a guy, I'm very passionate about supporting other business owners because I know it's tough, you know, it can be tough, and particularly with everything going on in the economy. And there was a guy I'd met randomly, and it's called Be Kind Incense, so it's all about like incense and stuff. Lovely guy, and he had turned his life around, suffered with addiction, and made this, you know, incense company. Started to do really well with it, and he was having a launch event in Wicklow. And he said, listen, I'm doing this, things are going in the right direction, how much would you charge to come down and talk? I was like, I'm not charging at all, I want to support you, like I'm actually loving to see your journey. And I spoke in Wicklow, I knew nobody in the room, and I kind of thought, wow, there was maybe 120 other business owners there. It got really well received, and I remember thinking, like, here's an audience that I haven't tapped into. Why? I kind of thought, I'm going to come down here again and kind of spread my message, and the people were lovely. And I said one thing about, you know, about supporting other business owners, and there needs to be an emphasis on community over competition, and everyone started clapping. And then I remember actually thinking, like, there is a difference between the north and the south, as much as we're all connected. Remember, like, we have the troubles obviously happened up here, and there's still this like rebellious streak within us, which is, I actually love it, you know, we are a wee bit more hardy, I think, in general, and we kind of spoke about that, even like in a funny way, like in the south was very strict about COVID, you know, they had this 5 kilometre thing, whereas up here, everyone just did their own thing. It's like, I'm not wearing a mask, fuck you, you know, there is that kind of streak up here that I love, and we kind of spoke about that, and again, it was really well received, and just the similarities between us, but also the differences, and so I'm excited to do a wee bit more work in the south, and very like, there's a real openness towards mindset stuff and that down there as well. So yeah, Dublin.
It's the US would be a big market for that. Like.
Yeah, well that's, I mean, I've wrote it down, I've wrote it down on in my wardrobe in the morning is...
Anyone particular?
So again, I play with this, okay, I play with these ideas, I don't take it too serious, but I have already designed, like, starting on the East Coast of where there's a big Irish American community of New York, Boston, Philadelphia.
Good, hitting a tour.
And then Canada as well, you know, so that is in my head now. People laugh at me, but I truly believe it's going to happen, and I've wrote it down.
I believe it. Like,
doesn't sound anywhere far.
So
if you did a post tomorrow that you were doing a thing there, it wouldn't feel like, fuck's yeah, it would be like, alright.
So this is how I see it, right? I'll not name the name, but so I had started to play with this and kind of thought, I would love to go from Balmoral to Boston, the Balmoral Hotel in Belfast to Boston, and New York, the new Belfast, and all this. So I started playing about with these ideas, and I was like, I believe this could happen. I am going to do this, right? Tomorrow, by pure fluke, there's an owner of a hotel in Belfast going to the corporate swim race, and he messaged me last week to say there's a very influential American businessman originally from Armagh. He's staying in my hotel. Can he come to the swim race? He hosts all these big talks in America. I haven't met this guy yet. I don't even know who he is. But in my head, I'm thinking, when you make a decision, everything in the universe conspires to make it happen. So I'm thinking this potentially is my ticket to America. So he's going to speak. He's made a big multi-millionaire, and he's going to give a brief talk at the end about how it's really important to think bigger than your current environment. So for me,
which ironically is exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, well, and I think it is important. So for me, I always try and leave everyone with a good impression, like a sense of I give them more than they give me. You know, I want people coming away thinking, okay, there's something about him. So tomorrow, what I'm going to buy him a bottle of like Irish whiskey, write him a card saying thank you for coming to my event. You know, I've never met this guy, I don't even know his real name. And just put it out there, and I just kind of think, well, be expectant, and almost he could come away impressed, going, "Hey, that guy, I'll bring him over to America to speak." Do you know what I mean? So it's playing with it. he could end up thinking, I'm an American Crawford's burnt shite. I don't like the cold water. Ciaran's a balloon. The breakfast was stinking. I didn't like the other dogs. I'll never be back. But I don't care. I'm just being childish, and I'm like, well, at least
Listen, why
put it out there.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Do your best. And
So
then
let's catch up in
that's-
3 years, and we'll talk about the American tour.
You know, listen, we'll come back to this podcast.
I think so. If we did last one, say it was like 12 months ago, I guarantee you by the end of this year, we could have that conversation, and it would be like obviously, I just don't think it'll be 3 years before that happens. I think from even then you'll be thinking like, what next?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Always just sort of pushing on. So yeah, again, if you'd have said to me, I'm going to do a tour of America, like I wouldn't have batted an eyelid and thought, here, that's far-fetched. I'd be like, yeah.
Well, the beauty of it is, I don't even think it's far-fetched now. You know what? Like internally, do you know why sometimes you go, so I'm trying to practice what I preach. I'm like, I can't see that. I can feel it.
Now that we should, like, I think it's hardest. It's going to be way harder for you to. But because we're quite modest and we we don't want to big it, but it's easier for us to turn around and say, here that sounds exactly what you're going to be doing. So, but for you yourself, you still have that sort of self doubt, and so you don't want to fully back yourself in it because But listen, you practice what you preach.
I've actually already started. If I do like a 3-step process to manifest and stuff. So I visualize every day. I do a particular song. It's called "Time" by Hans Zimmer. It's like a classical piece, which is quite emotive. So I go into like a meditative state and visualize myself speaking in America.
Is that Interstellar?
Yes, right. It's amazing. And then the key is to get emotional about it. So I will start to get excited about that, and that song is quite emotive. So I'm like, oh my god, I feel it in my body, and then start to take actions in alignment with it. So for me, I know I'm on this journey of growth. I met a guy last week who's completely redeveloping my website, and it's all going to be more professional, more about being in alignment with like corporate and public speaking and doing that, and just to start the process of being expectant of these things to happen.
Amazing. I like that process, the manifestation process, when you get yourself to this certain high. Because you've got yourself to this high vibration, right? And then you're just like, right, okay, I'm gonna pick something here and throw into the.
Yeah. Do
you know what I mean? Because you're at this point where you're just like, I'm ready to receive.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
You have to be ready to receive.
Yeah.
You have to be ready. You have to create space to receive what you want. I do believe as well, nothing comes free. So like, that's why you call it a worthy goal. What is worth sacrificing in order to achieve that? So if, say the gym environment, if your worthy goal is I want optimal fitness and health, and as a byproduct of it is good body, then you have to sacrifice your fast food, your alcohol, your sitting on your hold on a Saturday morning. You have to show the universe, I'm willing to give this up to achieve that. Has to be.
It's a big give and take, isn't it?
Has to be, and that's good.
Yeah.
That's good as well. Keeps you on your toes. That's where the growth is. What am I ready to cut off to kind of go elsewhere.
Savage.
Class.
Ciaran,
love it. Ciaran, I've loved this. Like seriously, like I'm not just saying it. I watch some of your content. I think you're one of the most fascinating people.
Cheers.
Like, no bullshit. Like
my wife doesn't agree. She was boring bastard.
You got only something to say. I've said all my words today.
Me and my wife are chalk and cheese. I'm like a balloon and she's a string.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for her, I'd be away floating around the clouds, dreaming all this.
Yeah.
She's
even right looking things, mate, like in your holistic approach to stuff, and I know we talked a lot in the last podcast about the natural remedies, cannonball and stuff, and like I find it fascinating, just the whole thing. So thanks very much for coming.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you, Ciaran. Yes, Ciaran. Instagram handle, our website. Where's the best place to see your stuff?
At Natural Resilience on Instagram. The website, we've changed the domain name. It'll be live in a couple of weeks, but it'll be www.natural-resilience.co.uk.
Are you on Facebook as well?
Facebook is Natural Resilience, and then LinkedIn is Ciaran May.
Ciaran May, brilliant. Ciaran. Savage, by Mark, what about you?
Yeah, it's Mark Adams Coaching _BSc.
Lovely guys, lovely. And we have the Best Self Club podcast Instagram page now, so all the stuff will be going through there.
And BSc or Best Self Club podcast YouTube channel.
Yes, YouTube channel too, so this will hopefully all be on video.
Yeah.
All being well. But Ciaran, thank you very much, mate.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Fabulous.
For years I've been devoted, grew it, bagged it and sold it, rolled it, lit it and smoked it.